Hey, this is Chad with Drawn and Cornered. It is October 13th, 2021. As some of you may know already, yesterday we caught our first ban from YouTube. And they censored us, they censored the video because they said there was medical misinformation. Now that's super vague, no way to know what they were actually asking, but I suspect it has something to do with the current pandemic. And let me tell you this right now, to be very clear to YouTube, to everybody else, I don't want this to be misunderstood. COVID is definitely still extraordinarily real. COVID is definitely something you should still very much be terrified about every moment of your life. COVID is absolutely something that should surround your life, everything you do in your life. Every governmental policy that has possibly ever been put out for COVID should still be followed by you to the letter of the law, to the letter of the suggestion, the recommendation, because COVID is still very much trying to kill you every moment of every day. And there have been next to zero advances made in anything, about anything, when it comes to COVID. So definitely still very much be afraid of COVID. Now, along those lines, I want to give you the very real, very 100% accurate numbers as of today about COVID. Right now, as we stand, our 14-day rolling average for this is down 21% for cases, down 4% for deaths, which is obviously a trailing indicator. The peak that we had for cases was back in mid-September, September 13th. From that point forward, we have been dropping and dropping precipitously in cases, but definitely still very much be afraid of it. COVID is definitely not over, definitely still an issue. If you look at vaccination rates, we have vaccines, 65 and up of 95% have at least one dose, 84% have the full dosage, have full immunity, fully vaccinated. 12 and up are 77%. 77% of 12 and up have had at least one dose of the COVID vaccine. 66% are fully vaccinated. All ages, we're sitting at 65% of one dose, 57% of fully vaccinated. I presume that includes all the way down to young children, which again are definitely susceptible to this disease. There's definitely still major issues because children can't get fully vaccinated, and we will make sure that those vaccines get put out at some point in the future. They've already asked for approval for this sort of thing to go all the way down. California has already demanded that will happen for anybody who is school aged and needs to be able to go to school. They will have to be vaccinated in order to get there, even though it's still extraordinarily dangerous. It's important that everybody knows that. I don't want YouTube to misunderstand. I am not minimizing just how dangerous COVID is to everybody, vaccinated or unvaccinated. It's still very dangerous, and you definitely need to take it very seriously. Anthony Fauci just a couple of days ago told us that we may not even be able to celebrate Christmas with our families because COVID is still so dangerous. Please understand that. I don't want yesterday's video to make anybody think that my thoughts are different than what I am telling you right now. It's definitely still very dangerous. Very dangerous. Please understand. Extremely dangerous for everybody. Along those lines, we finally got word from Southwest that all of these cancellations, actually, what we all knew, didn't have anything to do with weather, didn't have anything to do with shortages when it comes to air traffic control or issues with air traffic control. It has to do with the vaccine mandates and the employees that are walking off the job, refusing to do their jobs because of the vaccine mandates. We are seeing real life, real-time impacts of terrible policy. And the crazy thing about it is it's not even actual policy yet. Joe Biden screamed and yelled, said he had to have these mandates. It was a question about safety and how we were going to keep people safe. So any employer above 100 employees had to demand vaccines, or the OSHA would come in there and start penalizing people that didn't do this. A bunch of companies picked up that mantle and decided they were going to get preemptive with it and start doing it already, start getting this across the line. Turns out Joe Biden never put through that regulation. Turns out OSHA's not doing anything even remotely close to this. They have nothing in place to make this actually happen yet. It is not actual law. It is simply Joe Biden going on TV and saying something. Now, I remember there was a time when Trump would get on TV and say something extraordinarily stupid, And everybody would be up in arms because the whole world would get into a fervor about how to handle what he was going to say, even though he just kind of threw things against the wall to see what happened. The whole world got into a fervor over that. Now we have actual tangible issues that are occurring because of what Joe Biden is saying, and nobody is calling him out on it. Nobody is getting to the front of the line and saying, hey, you created a massive issue when you said this is what was going to happen, and you're not even doing it. And this massive issue exists for travelers, for business people, for commerce, for retail. All of this is having issues now because of what you said you were going to do that you haven't done, even though you said it was a high priority because of safety. Hasn't happened. So now Southwest is taking it on the chin because everybody is upset with Southwest. CEO comes forward and says it's Biden's fault. Biden said this was going to be mandated. It's not being mandated. We don't know what to do about this sort of thing. We're going to start seeing cracks in this. This is going to start happening all over the place. And let me be very clear about schools being one of the big issues, businesses being the other big issue, healthcare workers being another issue, teachers are going to be another issue. And then you're going to start having issues outside of that when it comes to racial disparities and how this is handled. You look at a place like Chicago Public Schools, which is predominantly Black schools. People that are going to be unvaccinated are going to refuse the vaccine and are going to start losing their jobs, going to start losing their ability to attend school. And this is going to disproportionately affect Black people. And you're going to see that become a major, major issue going forward. Look out for it. The other thing we wanted to talk about today is consumer pricing. Inflation jumped up higher than people expected it to. We're looking at, I want to say it's a 5.4% rise in inflation. This is something we were told was just going to be transitory. This wasn't going to be a big issue. Any gains you're making in wage are being chewed up by inflation right now. This is another thing that Joe Biden is responsible for because of the massive amounts of spending and nobody knowing what's going to happen next. So businesses are kind of shutting down. They're going a little scared. You've got a ton of people that are terrified of COVID, as they should be, because it is still terrifying. Please understand, YouTube, I do not want to dismiss just how terrifying COVID still is to everybody. But they're staying home. They're not going out to eat. They're not going out to shop. They're not going out to work. All of these things are creating a massive stagflation environment for our economy. We're seeing massive inflation rates. We're seeing just a dulling of our overall economic capability. And it's going to have massive effects for 2022. The last thing that I wanted to talk about, let me see here. Nope, I think that was it. That was everything I had. Look at that. First time with a computer and I'm already screwing it up. Thank you very much for tuning in today. I appreciate you guys sticking through the ban from yesterday. I have an appeal out to YouTube. I'm hoping that what happened is it just got caught up in the algorithm. Something popped and it went off. But when a real person looks at it, they'll recognize that it was complete and utter garbage. We will see what happens. I don't want to dismiss, even though that it was a ban and that I think it was garbage. COVID is definitely still very real, still very much a problem. Still very much something that everybody needs to be thinking about almost all of the time. Keep it on your mind, like frontal lobe, like always present. It should always be a part of your thought process because it is still very, very present and still something we need to be considering all the time in everything we do. Again, thank you very much for watching. This is Chad with Drawn and Cornered. We do videos like this every day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Hit that subscribe button down below if you want a little bit of news, a little bit of analysis. Hit that bell so you get notifications as we release those videos, assuming we don't catch another ban. Again, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again tomorrow.